Good morning. This is the time and place for the Planning Hearing Officer hearings for Wednesday, August 22nd, 2012. My name is Kristen Asp, and I will be conducting the hearing as Planning Hearing Officer. We have 3 cases today, and all relevant exhibits are posted on the panels located directly behind me. We have 2 conditional use permit applications and a parking reduction permit application. One of the conditional use permits is for alcohol, and there are additional findings required for that to consider a conditional use permit. As far as findings goes, if the evidence presented in the application and at the hearing meets the criteria, the planning hearing officer can either approve or impose conditions for approval on the case in questions. If the findings, in fact, are not evident, then the request will be denied. Public notice. Notification of this hearing was accomplished by the use of the public notices which were mailed to property owners and tenants located within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, placed in the local newspaper, and posted on the city's website. As far as procedures for the hearing, I will read a description of the application and request. I will ask the case planner to make a brief overview in the case, give analysis, make a recommendation. I will read into the record any relevant reports from other city departments. Then the applicant will be asked to come forward stating both name and address, and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in support of or in opposition to the application and interested parties will be asked to come forward to speak, again clearly stating both name and address within a 3-minute time limit. Lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make closing comments, if any, in response to testimony given with a 5-minute time limit. The hearing will then be closed and taken under submission. As far as a decision, after the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who responded to the public notice, either by speaking at this hearing or submitting written responses and have provided their name and mailing address. The date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter, not necessarily the date of this hearing. Appeals under the appeal provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.62 of the Glendale Municipal Code. The decision may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the decision date, and the notice of appeal shall be filed with the Building and Safety Division located in this building, MSB, in room 101 of this building across the hall. Speaker cards, if anybody wishes to speak, please write your name and address on one of the speaker forms, and please give it to planning staff. I would also like to inform everyone that the official proceedings of the planning hearing officers' hearings are recorded on tape as part of the public record. So, moving on to the agenda. Item number 1 is conditional use permit case number PCUP 1220324. The applicant is Janelle Williams. Business name is June Shabu Shabu. The project description is an application for a conditional use permit to allow the sales, service, and on-site consumption of beer and wine at a new full-service restaurant located at 220 East Broadway, Suite A, in the DSP EB, the Downtown Specific Plan East Broadway District Zone, described as a portion of Lot 1 and all Lots 2 and 3, Block 58, Town of Glendale tract. So I will ask the case planner to give a brief overview.
Thank you, Ms. Asp. My name is Milka Toledo. I'm the case planner for this project. As you stated, the project is located at 220 East Broadway, Suite A. The site was recently developed with a 4-story mixed-use development consisting of 34 residential condominium units and with approximately 3,900 square feet of commercial space on the ground floor. So again, I'd like to emphasize this is a mixed-use project with commercial on the ground floor and residential above. Presently, one of the commercial tenant space is occupied by a beauty salon. That would be Suite B, and Again, the upper floors are the 34 residential units, and so the subject tenant in question today is for unit or Suite A, which is the proposal for a new full-service restaurant offering the on-site consumption of beer and wine. This project does have a parking exception on file. It was approved back in 2005, where the applicant was providing 83 parking spaces for the entire building, where 90 spaces were required. The proposal included shared code required guest and commercial parking for those two, for guest and for the commercial on site, and they also have a structure as well, parking structure, I believe, for their residential tenants. They do have one tenant improvement building permit on file that was issued for the subject tenant space for the 2,050 square foot restaurant, and that would be the size of the space that they would be occupying. Again, 2,050 square feet is proposed for the restaurant. It is located in the Downtown Specific Plan, East Broadway District, so that would be DSP area. They are close to the Arts and Entertainment District. They are within walking distance. They are also within walking distance to the Glendale Gallery and all other entertainment areas where where full-service restaurants, which offer the ancillary service of beer and wine, is a common theme for the dining experience. And that, again, is what they are proposing today. In terms of comments, the one comment I'd like to emphasize would be the comments received by the police department, because there weren't any other comments that were made by any other departments that had any issues with this entitlement request. Police department did know that the property is located in Census Tract 3022.01, where the suggested limit is 3 on-sale establishments. Currently, there are 20 on-sale licenses in this census tract, which does denote an overconcentration of alcoholic beverages within this census tract. The fact that there is an overconcentration of licenses did not appear to be an issue for the police department or the neighborhood services division. Moreover, again, the sale of alcohol in a restaurant setting, especially when limited to the sale of beer and wine, is unlikely to cause significant issues of public drunkenness or alcohol-related crimes. Based on Part 1 crime statistics within the census, there were 88 crimes, which is 40% above the citywide average of 63. Maybe the reason for the high crime area may be related to the theft in local retail stores in the area. However, again, comments received from the police department indicated that this proposal was not anticipated to create any major concerns for law enforcement. And as I stated earlier, the project site is located in the downtown area of Glendale, where a concentration of restaurants is encouraged. And again, restaurants frequently do serve alcoholic beverages as part of their food service. And in this case, they are proposing the Type 41 license, which is just limited to beer and wine. It's not a full array of all types of alcoholic beverages. Staff was able to make 4 findings in support of the conditional use permit, in addition to the additional findings that need to be made for on-site consumption of alcoholic beverages, and therefore staff does suggest approval with the draft findings prepared and conditions of approval that were included. And if there are any questions regarding those, I'm available. If not, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Toledo. Just for clarification, back to the parking. The parking exception, just so I'm clear, was for construction of the overall project several years ago.
Correct.
So
It's for the entire building.
And it included an analysis of the residential units there, as well as the commercial uses on the ground floor.
It did, and one of the items that was mentioned in the conditions of approval that was made within the motion was regarding food services, and this is a food establishment. So the intent was to encourage these types of commercial uses within the commercial tenant spaces on the ground floor.
So consistency of the uses that were analyzed.
Correct.
As well as for the parking for the whole building.
Correct.
Thank you, Ms. Toledo. I have one speaker card. Janelle Williams?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Janelle Williams, Williams Land Use Services. My office is at 2418 Honolulu Avenue in Montrose. Good morning. Thank you, Milka, for your presentation. You really did all my work for me. I appreciate that. Yes, the parking is accommodated through that parking exception for the entire building, and this use was anticipated in that. If you're not familiar with the cuisine of shabu shabu, I'll just give you just a brief overview of what that is. It's a style of cooking where the patron actually cooks their own food. Food is brought to the table, thinly sliced, and fresh meats and vegetables, and it's a Japanese one pot where you cook your own food in it's a broth or a seasoned water, and so it's a very it's a Japanese cultural cuisine, and something rather new for this area. So we're excited to have it, and typical with that cuisine would be the service of beer and wine, similar to a sushi restaurant. They would serve sake most often.
Okay.
Sake and maybe some Japanese beer. So I'll just go right into the findings then.
Sure.
First finding, how will the proposed use be consistent with the various elements and objectives of the general plan? We know that alcoholic beverage service in conjunction with a full-service restaurant is a normal business operation, and it's consistent with the commercially designated locations that are identified in the land use element of the general plan and the downtown strategic plan, East Broadway zone. Okay, the second finding. Why will the proposed use and its associated structures and facilities not be detrimental to the public health, safety, or general welfare, or to the environment? The site is located within an identified commercial center in the East Broadway designation in the downtown specific plan. Given the type of restaurant that we're proposing, police are typically not burdened with calls for service. There would be no conflict with existing businesses or other uses. Restaurant staff will be educated on responsible serving of alcoholic beverages, including checking various forms of identification and being able to detect illegal activity or drunkenness, etc. So the use will not be detrimental to the public health or safety or to the general welfare or to the environment. The entire development is new, and current code standards will be met with the tenant improvements for June shabu shabu, and parking is provided on site. Why will the proposed use and facilities not adversely affect or conflict with adjacent uses or impede the normal development of surrounding property? June shabu shabu anticipates being an asset to the area and calling Glendale home for many years to come. They are making a substantial financial investment in this property, and they hope it to be a destination for the downtown workforce and the residents in the building. And within walking distance, and there are many multifamily buildings close by. So they have committed to always be a good neighbor. I'll explain how adequate public and private facilities such as utilities, landscaping, parking spaces, and traffic circulation measures are or will be provided for the proposed use. The structure, parking, streets, and utilities are all existing and are adequate for the restaurant operation. No changes are proposed besides the tenant improvements that are underway as we speak. So the adequacy of the public infrastructure will not be affected by this application. All structures on the premises are permitted and legal, and parking is provided on site, and the structure itself is properly accommodated and located where it is. And then we have some additional criteria for alcoholic beverages where there could be an overconcentration, which in this case we do have an overconcentration. So how will such use not intensify or otherwise contribute to the adverse impacts on the surrounding area caused by the overconcentration? Well, what we seek is a Type 41 ABC license, which allows the sale and consumption of beer and wine in a bona fide eating establishment. That's a full-service restaurant. This license would enhance the dining options in the downtown and add to the mix of retail establishments anticipated in the strategic plan. All commercial establishments that serve alcoholic beverages must be located in commercially zoned areas of the city. And as such, those certain commercial areas could tend to be overconcentrated because of that requirement. But this particular use fulfills a need in the community whereby the responsible on-site sales enhance the operation, address the patron's request, and it does complement this cuisine. If the existing or proposed use is located in a crime reporting district with a crime rate which exceeds 20% of the city average for Part 1 crimes, how does such use not tend to encourage or intensify crime within the district? Again, in general, crime statistics will show that the existence of a full-service restaurant serving alcoholic beverage does not tend to intensify any crime in that area. The development and support of a vibrant local spot such as June Shabu Shabu actually will discourage loitering and encourage more resident and pedestrian and business patrons. So it'll vitalize that area. How will the existing or proposed use not adversely impact any church, public or private school or college, daycare facility, public park, library, hospital, or residential use within the surrounding area? Well, June Shabu Shabu will be a good neighbor, and by their location on a corner, it'll have the opportunity and the responsibility to appear inviting on both frontages, and as such, the exterior will be kept free of weeds and trash at all times. Paint will always be fresh. Graffiti will always be removed immediately. All music, lighting, noise, odors will be confined to the property, and all fixtures will be maintained. June will be a neighborhood establishment serving residents as well as patrons and employees of local businesses. The ability to have an alcoholic beverage with meals is an anticipated amenity. Outdoor seating will also be available. We'll have 3 tables outside with an outdoor dining permit. And those tables are shown upper right-hand corner of the site plan. How will adequate parking and loading facilities be provided? Again, all structures and parking and streets and utilities are existing and adequate for the establishment. We don't expect this restaurant to create an impact on traffic patterns or create any undue burden on public facilities at all. And how will the existing use or proposed use serve a public necessity or public convenience for the area? Similar to other operations that serve full-serve restaurants with incidental alcohol sales, the service of an alcoholic beverage with a meal is an anticipated amenity by patrons of that cuisine. The restaurant will serve the surrounding uses, will serve the surrounding businesses, and will serve the local resident population. It is, by its location and by its cuisine, is pedestrian friendly and proximal to public transportation. Standard conditions of approval will ensure that this will be a continually well-run establishment that also continues to meet the public convenience and necessity. And that is my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm here to help.
I do have a few questions. You mentioned service of sake, and that falls within the Type 41 beer and wine?
It does. It's a wine.
Okay.
It's a rice wine.
Okay, just wanted to
Sure.
make that clear. And hours of operation, do you anticipate
Yes, we do have hours of operation.
Monday through Friday different than the weekends, or I'm assuming this is a lunch and dinner
yes.
establishment?
Start beginning at about 11. We may have employees arriving at 10:30 or 10 o'clock to, start setting up for the lunch hour. And we anticipate going until, in the, let's see, your condition 22 says 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. each day of the week. I don't know if we would remain open that late. We just have to see what the demand is.
Okay.
But I would like to hold that option open.
Okay. And I guess there's just a little bit of seating outside.
Yes,
so
3 tables.
Would you be able to, I'm just trying to understand, you sort of cook your own food. Would you be able to do that outside?
You would not be able to do
Okay.
that outside.
Okay.
I would anticipate people would perhaps be waiting for a table out there or just have an appetizer or something out
Okay.
there.
And about roughly how many seats do you know? I mean, how many that this, because it looks just from the,
How many interior seats do we have?
looks like everything's at a bar.
Do 48? 48 seats
Okay.
inside.
And so you've read the suggested or proposed conditions of approval, and do you have any,
I
you
have.
okay with them, or you have any questions about them?
If, the owner has just arrived.
Hi.
He had jury duty this morning.
Oh.
I would like to have him take a look at the conditions of approval,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Okay.
Just have a quick look at them.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Okay, he's had a chance to review the conditions, and he concurs with all of them.
And I guess just one last question from me. Live entertainment is prohibited. I'm just making clear that there's no anticipation of
We don't
providing any
anticipate,
live entertainment.
we don't anticipate that, and it looks like this is going to be a conditional use permit for 5 years. If we find that we need a live entertainment permit, we'll ask about it then.
Okay.
Okay? They don't anticipate needing that kind of permit at this
Okay.
time.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't have any other questions. I don't
Okay.
have any other speaker cards. Is there anybody else who
I don't think so.
wishes to speak? Okay. I think then that's it for me. I will take this case under submission, and you'll be hearing from us.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. So, the next item on the agenda The second item on the agenda is for a conditional use permit, case number PCUP 1219941, and a parking reduction permit, case number PPRP 1219938. The applicant is Peter Whittingham on behalf of the Coffee, Bean, and Tea Leaf. This is an application for a conditional use permit and parking reduction permit to allow a fast food restaurant located at 3701 Ocean View Boulevard, Unit A2 in the CR Commercial Retail and C3 Commercial Services Zones with 8 parking spaces described as portion of Lot 297, Track 1701, and portions of Lots 7 through 14, Spar Heights Tract, and a portion of a vacated alley. I will ask the case planner, Eric Kraus, to give a brief overview of the cases.
Thank you, Ms. Asp. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for the continued operation of an existing fast food restaurant in the CR zone. The use is and will continue to be located in an existing shopping center that's located at 3701 Ocean View Boulevard. The use occupies approximately 1,900 square feet of an existing multi-tenant commercial building that is located in the Montrose Shopping Park. Presently, there are 13 tenant spaces on site. The use is considered a fast food restaurant because there are more than 8 seats within the Coffee, Bean, and Tea Leaf, and no waiter or waitress services are provided. The use currently has 45 seats inside and 25 seats outside along the sidewalk, and no changes are proposed to the seating arrangement. The project requires a total of 24 parking spaces. A total of 78 parking spaces are provided on the property. 8 of the 24 parking spaces are provided on site. To address the parking shortfall, the applicant is requesting the approval of a parking reduction permit for the 16-space shortfall. CUP for the establishment of a fast food restaurant and a standards variance for the project to provide only 8 on-site parking spaces was approved by the zoning administrator at a hearing on November 25, 2003. Both approvals were valid for a period of 5 years, and the subject use has operated at its present location since the 2003 approvals. However, these approvals did expire November 30, 2008. The project site is located, as I mentioned, in the Montrose Shopping Park at the corner of Honolulu and Ocean View. A total of 7 city-owned parking lots that include a total of 589 parking spaces are located within the shopping park boundaries. And that little diagram on there that shows the yellow highlighted areas, those are the parking lots that are within that 500-foot boundary.
The city-owned lots.
City-owned lots, correct. Excuse me. Let's see where. So the 3 lots, these lots are intended to serve the businesses within the shopping park. 3 of the lots are located within a 500-foot of the subject property. These lots include lots 3, 6, and 7, and include a total of 426 spaces. And lot 3 is the largest city-owned lot that is within that boundary and has 308 parking spaces. Lot 6 has 23 spaces, and lot 7, 95 spaces. In addition, lot 4 is located just outside that 500-foot radius and contains an additional 43 spaces that could be used by customers and our employees of the Coffee, Bean, and Tea Leaf. One of the recommended conditions that would require the employees to park within the city-owned lots rather than on-site to ensure that the 8 parking spaces on the subject site would be reserved for customers. Responses were received from Fire, Police, Public Works, Glendale Water and Power, and Economic Development, and none of these departments had any concerns with the applications. As I mentioned, this is a renewal of a previous application, and because the city no longer issues variances for parking, this is now considered a parking reduction permit rather than a standards variance for.
So that explains the change in application.
That's why the application changed from a standards variance to parking reduction permit. The staff report includes an analysis of the required findings for both the CUP and the parking reduction permit, and based on the analysis, staff believes that all the necessary findings can be made in a positive manner and recommends approval of the requested entitlements. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kraus. And I can confirm, just going through the files, that no other comments were received from any other division. I would like to call upon the applicant. I have one speaker card, Peter Whittingham, to come up and tell us a little bit about your project.
Sure. Good morning.
Good morning.
Again, Peter Whittingham with Kirk Pringle and Associates on behalf of Coffee, Bean, and Tea Leaf. Happy to be here this morning. As Eric stated, this is a renewal or an extension of a previously issued CUP and a parking exemption or parking reduction permit in place of a parking variance for an existing business which has operated since early 2004, more than 8 years, at a very high-profile location in the Montrose Business Park at the corner of Honolulu and Ocean View. Has operated without incident since that time in terms of parking concerns or traffic or any other issues related to the operation there. The impetus here is a CUP that expired, unbeknownst to the operator and to the landlord, who is here today. Mr. Johanna is here today, as well as Patty Nelson and Henry New from Coffee Bean, to answer any questions you might have that are over my head, which are most. And very clearly, this is a business that is the anchor of that center, but again, the overwhelming majority of the customers who predominantly are there in the early morning peak hours before the other businesses in the Montrose Shopping Park are open, which open at 10, are pedestrians or use either the city-owned lots or the street parking that exists within 500 feet. Again, as Eric pointed out, nearly 300 parking spaces in the 3 city-owned lots within 500 square feet, as well as the ample street parking, that especially at those early morning peak hours. With that, again, I don't want to belabor the findings. I think they all are supportive of the continued use. The applicant has seen the recommended conditions of approval, including the posting of a map in the store that provides directions to those lots, and they're in agreement with all of those conditions.
Okay.
So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Just a few. So the original permit the discretionary permits that were granted in 2003
Correct.
Was the initial start of Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf. So
Correct.
that's when they first opened.
At that location, yes.
At that location. And has nothing's really changed since then? I mean, has anything changed in terms of your hours of operation or?
The seating plan has been updated to what is currently shown as part of a
Okay, so in terms
company-wide
of a change, there's just been a change in the seating arrangement of?
seating arrangement and essentially the interior
Okay.
furnishings in furtherance of a company-wide update of its.
But no other operational
No.
characteristics that have changed? The hours of operation haven't changed?
So no.
Okay. And where employees park, just to be clear, employees are parking in the city-owned lots?
Understanding that is one of the conditions, and that will be something that's mandated, and I believe they're in agreement with that. I don't know if that's currently the case, but it certainly will be moving
I guess
forward.
that's just a question if maybe the applicant can answer, and
Sure.
either of you can answer, or you fill out a card and come up and answer, just, generally where the employees currently park. And are there any other questions? While she's getting a card. You mentioned that patrons of Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf kind of have off-peak hours to sort of the shopping park. So assuming that Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf opens quite early, the big morning rush of either pedestrians or people that are populating the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf are before maybe some of the other general businesses open, and then sort of the same thing in the evening. There's there's
certainly a steady stream of customers through the day, but the peak hours, the highest intensity, are prior to 10 a.m. when the
Okay.
other businesses open in the business park.
Okay. And would you say that the morning is the
Yes.
the stronger volume of people
Yeah,
as opposed to the evening?
Correct.
Okay. So when you're ready. Thank you.
Hi,
Ms. Patty
good morning.
Nelson.
Patty Nelson from the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, I believe that majority of the employees are parking in the public-owned parking lots. The only exception to that may be the manager in the morning who needs to take the deposit to the bank. I need to find out about that
Okay.
specifically for this site.
And I mean, just to be clear, the site does have 78 parking spaces, so it's not like there's not parking right there
Yeah.
for the center as well. I'm just a general question of employees and reading these draft conditions if they're okay with you.
Yes, they are okay
Okay.
with me.
Okay. I don't believe I have any other questions related to this. Is there any other comments you'd like to make about the operation of Coffee Bean and Tea?
No, other than, we've been operating in the premise for the past 8 years and, have enjoyed our time there and hope to continue for quite some time as well.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Miss Asp, if I can
Yes.
add something real quick. I noticed when I was reviewing the conditions of approval that I think we kind of need to add another one to make sure that they obtain necessary encroachment permits from Public Works Department. I didn't have that listed as one of the suggested conditions.
As part of the conditional use permit?
Yes. So,
And just so we're clear, I think what staff is suggesting is adding a condition for, I believe this is related to the outdoor
Outdoor
seating,
correct,
because
yes.
it's on public right-of-way, that any necessary permits related to that for outdoor dining be obtained through our Public Works Engineering Division.
Similar to I think it's condition 3 in terms of building and safety.
that'd be it's a different division,
Okay,
essentially.
right,
Yeah.
but similar.
Yeah, but similar to that, yeah.
Okay.
Because we do require encroachment permits if you're going to have outdoor dining. I
Right,
just want to make sure
right.
you guys
And there's
have them
no
and maintain.
objection to that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so if you don't currently have one, or it needs to be
see
updated,
that.
that'll be
Certainly.
included as part of that.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
any other comments?
That's it. Thanks.
Okay. So,
Oh,
yes.
you could ask a question. Again, this somewhat arose because of the expired original entitlements. Would a approval of these requested entitlements have a similar time frame at which they would, prior to, need to pursue a similar reauthorization?
I don't see a suggested condition from staff for that. However, as the decision maker, I will take that under consideration and let you know.
Yes, certainly we understand for initial business operating a somewhat of a probationary period, but to avoid this in the future, it would be wonderful. It was
Okay.
but
Okay,
Great.
duly
Thank you
noted.
very much.
Thank you. That being said, I'm going to take this case under submission. I will close the public hearing, and thank you for coming. Everybody have a good morning.